teachers are not going to accept that they've did anything wrong here, and they're going to continue to double down on this direction that they've gone in. But I think it is. I want to say something. If we're going to end, I want to say something about why I think schools are being destroyed. Because we had Allison on last week, and she talked about NAFTA as part of a plan of getting entire Mexico to be part of a big data analytics, social impact investment experiment that was then going to be sent around the world. So destroy Mexican economy so you can make people in Mexico dependent on the Silicon Valley, U.S., Western investor state. And that's what I think is going on here. I think the school system is being systematically destroyed so that essentially, as the World Economic Forum says, we are going to have online or robot teachers by 2027. And they just to read this part of how they see AI, not just AI as cheaper than teachers because they don't ask for pay raises and like that, but they talk about this. They say classrooms could be equipped with language processors, speech and gesture recognition technology, eye tracking, and other physiological sensors to collect and analyze information about each student. Instead of waiting for a test or a raised hand for a student to display her understanding of the material, teachers could access real-time information that could show them why the student might not be learning at full capacity. They'd know which students weren't getting enough sleep, if they had inadequate diets, if they were suffering from emotional distress, information that it can affect the student's performance, but that can be difficult to tease out in the classroom. What they've essentially done is as they essentially terrify students out of schools. As they get them to flee the schools, the only educational options, well, two things. One is the only educational options that will be provided for these kids are going to be outside this school system that they're trying to get rid of as brick and mortar in the first place. But secondly, the teachers who are remaining, if they're going to be teaching all the kids whatever kids are there, they're going to provide them the AI that's going to be used to, one, monitor what the teacher's doing, and then, as we can see, monitor what all these students are doing, which then only is then the part of that big data analytics, which only builds the bigger AI. So just like NAFTA was the crisis that creates the solution of, collecting data on the entire Mexico and South America, this problem, COVID, and the way the pandemic was handled, was the crisis that could create the solution that allows them to actually do the thing of destroy the brick and mortar schools, not just last year when we were in remote, but now start the whole process of degrading the whole thing, breaking up any of the relationships that kept it together, and then justifying a system of full surveillance monitoring of the students and the teachers. And in the process, creating an AI that replaces us as teachers and replaces student experience of each other or with a teacher with something that is just that, which is just tech. This is to me very much connected to Allison's view of how all of us are going to be treated like the indigenous were. We will all be displaced. We will all be separated. We will all be isolated. And this is the prison vision that they're building for us. And they think they can have these folks online by 2027. And so when I heard Dea's story, and when I saw it reflected in things I was hearing about Mission, and then when I see even what's happening in my existing school, I'm here right now, how they make it so that people are less and less interested in being in these buildings, not just the students, but the teachers themselves, then to me, I can see how they're nudging us into this future.
Yeah, I'm thinking about those, was it like Mexican mothers or young women, and how Allison was saying that, like, how valuable that data, like those populations specifically, is even more pivotal and more valuable to them at this point because it can help them build that system. And it's like, yeah, the students at this middle school, like, that's the data they want, right? And then what do they get? They get surveilled 10 times harder. They get exploited 10 times harder. It becomes even more of a prison.
Yeah.
My community organizing angle is that, that you have people claiming inequality, right, when it comes to technology. in like barriers to technology as being the problem, realizing that that's exactly what they want us to do, is to ask for it, as a solution, when in reality it's a prison that we are building ourselves. And just like indigenous people, like the people that claim to be their friends were the worst enemies, because they were saying, we're here to help you. I think that's where the role of, at least in my view, community organizers have, that, they're the ones pushing the stuff that's good for you, quote unquote.
I agree with that statement, and I think once again, the Everett School was a school that they have choose to have everything in place. I mean, this kind of the pilot program for them to implement all of this, beginning with the implementation of iPads. I think from Verizon, they had a grant that gave to the Everett students, every student an iPad from Verizon. So from the beginning of this, and I thought I saw this at the beginning. I also sent a letter at the beginning of this saying that I don't want my kid to be using the iPad, and I don't want him to be doing the surveys, because I think they were doing the surveys, all of the warnings that Allison was giving. I was just listening and reading about that, and everything was happening just as she said. So I said from the beginning, I don't want that. I sent a letter. I mean, I don't consent my son to participate in any kind of experiment, nothing, right? No medical, no computer experiments, nothing of that. I don't want him to be answering any surveys, because they were doing all of this. At the beginning, when the behavioral issues were more intense, the kids, because of everything that they were doing to the kids and giving them the computers, giving them the iPads and forcing them to basically, I guess what they were trying is to moving them to the digital thing, putting the kids on the iPads as a training, right? But what happened with after coming from the pandemic, coming from Zoom, kids didn't want this. And what it was happening is the kids were destroying the iPads. They destroyed the computers, they destroyed the iPads. That was the very first thing where they showed the frustration, and they were destroying the material things, right? Plus, they did have, everything is planned. They did have on TikTok, they were telling the kids to beat teachers, to destroy the schools. They were doing that through TikTok, those challenges. So they destroyed the iPads, they destroyed the computers. So in one sense, I was happy, because they were destroying the very first thing they tried to use to have the kids condition it and put them on digital, training to have the digital education. So the kids destroyed that they don't want that. They said they don't want it. But now it seems for next year, they are planning to have, again, another new batch of computers or iPads for the kids. And that's part of the fight, that we are saying, no, we don't want that. And that's part of the intervention that we want. That's why I have been fighting and advocating for the outdoor learning for the schools, and fighting so hard to have them building the outdoor learning classrooms for Everett, based on the problems that we have, that we need to have the kids outside, and for the mental health and emotional health, that we don't want them in the computers. So that has been part of the fight and part of the advocacy, yes, because we don't want computers. But it's a fight. It's gonna be a fight, and part of this is organizing with the parents and educating the parents about what's going on, and helping them to open the eyes of what's the plan and what's really going on.
Well, that was a very lively discussion. I think that we've gotten a lot from everyone. Thank you so much.